October 30th. Going to be an interesting weekend. First full moon on Halloween in 76 years, I think, since 1944. Also a blue moon. A wild pandemic. Everything's different for Halloween this year. So last night on the Art of Floundering podcast, Carol Peterson and I got talking about statins and cholesterol, etc. And she mentioned an article by Jason Fung, who's the nephrologist that's done so much for intermittent fasting and type 2 diabetes reversal. Hey, Linda. And this article is actually 2 years old, where he wrote about evidence-based medicine and how it's been basically hijacked by the pharmaceutical industry. So I thought we would revisit statins and Coenzyme Q10, and not specifically cholesterol, but dysfunction of mitochondria, the little energy generators that are in your cells, creating ATP for energy and for using oxygen. This is like the motor house power generating part of your cell. When we talk about oxidative dysfunction and stress and reactive oxygen species and free radicals in chronic disease formation, and I have a couple of articles from a guy that was an astronaut. He was also he was an Air Force flight surgeon and a family practitioner. He's done a lot of research and work and looking at statins. He's written a couple of books about what statins can do from a negative standpoint. Good morning, Holly. So I'm just going to go over what he calls aging and mitochondrial mutations. So mitochondria, powerhouse of your cell, they actually have their own DNA. So they get more DNA damage than DNA. So mitochondria have DNA from the maternal side. You inherit the DNA in your mitochondria from your mother. So lots of research on the aging process, and information is now rapidly accumulating that mitochondrial dysfunction and mutations may be the principal, if not the sole cause of natural aging. So it's not like you're trying to push off death. I mean, we all know we have our time, but why get old in the process? And what they're finding out is that mitochondrial dysfunction from oxidative stress may be the whole marker of aging overall. So mitochondria produce high energy molecules in the form of ATP. Those are used for cell function, and progressive damage to the mitochondria comes from exposure to free radicals, so oxygen reactive species. So we've talked about that maybe ad nauseum, but I think it's worth repeating. Oxidative stress is part of your aging process and the development of disease. So these highly reactive chemicals inevitably change the mitochondrial lipids, the proteins in the DNA, and they're a natural consequence of aging. What you don't want to do is rev up the process, and we'll get into the statin reason for that. So it's strange that this guy looked at the side effects of statin use, and that led him to looking into aging research over the last 12 to 13 years. So it appears to be that statins tend to exert their harm on susceptible people by causing premature aging by reducing coenzyme Q10 levels. So CoQ10 and glutathione, very strong antioxidants that protect the mitochondria from free radicals. Okay, so the statin effect is more than just depletion of coenzyme Q10. It appears to directly modify the maintenance of the mitochondria, leading to premature aging with all the known attributes of the aging process. So usually, when you're younger, your antioxidant system is sufficient to overcome the daily oxidative stress that happens to your mitochondria. But nutritional factors, exposures to disease, antioxidant capacity, which is never 100% in effectiveness, gradually deteriorates as we age. And specifically, CoQ10, you almost, after the age of 40, you don't make enough to protect your mitochondria. So you have to get it from your diet, and the standard American diet is woefully lacking in coenzyme Q10. Like most people take, you need about a half a gram a day to replace a circulating level of about 5 grams. You need about a half a gram a day either from eating or supplements to keep your mitochondria healthy and protected. And the typical American diet has 5 milligrams, not half a gram, so 500 milligrams. So 5 milligrams a day of coenzyme Q10 in it. So there's a natural reduction in CoQ10 synthesis as we get older. Okay, and especially after 50, you're down to where you just cannot create enough. So CoQ10 works along with glutathione to prevent excessive reactive oxygen species accumulation, and that is the main cause of mitochondrial damage. And once the damage has occurred, the mitochondria can tell the cell to commit suicide, process called apoptosis that we've talked about. So really, this family physician calls mitochondria frontline warriors in a constant battle to extract energy from a highly oxidative environment, while at the same time being oxidized and being damaged by that oxidation process. So your antioxidants, glutathione, CoQ10, vitamin C, vitamin E, are there to provide protection to the mitochondria as it does what it's supposed to be doing. Okay. So the mitochondria play a significant role in energy production. They have their own DNA. Mother Nature has given us built-in aging guarantors. So the idea is to modify those natural factors, not to prevent death, but to prevent premature aging. So there are a surprising number of supplements involved in mitochondrial maintenance and repair. I will put together a protocol on Fullscript. Once we get through this series, this is going to take a few classes, I think, to go through. And I'll put a list of supplements on my Fullscript dispensary that you can kind of look through and see what you're lacking maybe in your diet or something you haven't thought of. Q Sciences, Holly's on here. I think Q Sciences has pretty good stuff. A lot of their products have coenzyme Q10 in them. So that's a good, instead of having to go out and buy every different thing and put together your own list, Q Sciences has done that for you. So they have products that have most of these in a gluten-free form, and then like with the methylation process with MTHFR, all the vitamins in there are already methylated for you. So the antioxidants that this physician has found useful from his research is vitamin C, vitamin E, and that's in the Tocotrienol form, coenzyme Q10, alpha lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, carotenoids, flavonoids, selenium, vitamin B3, which is niacin, vitamin B6, pyridoxine, vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin, vitamin B2, riboflavin, folic acid, folate, vitamin D, melatonin, magnesium, and zinc. He also talks about phosphatidylcholine, glyconutrients, and probiotics. So he specifically looks at the ones that he thinks are the most helpful. So medical professionals, even after doing this for a long time, really can't formulate a personal requirement for mitochondrial repair. So a health coach like me, I can kind of do that, but there is no medical intervention that's going to decrease mitochondrial damage. There's not a pill or a pharmaceutical drug you can take. You have to do it with supplements and the way you eat. So his biggies is his biggest one is CoQ10. I would argue glutathione is at least as important. So coenzyme Q10 has repeatedly been shown to go down as we get older. So the reason for this is because the natural ability to synthesize coenzyme Q10 falls off rapidly after the age of 50. So basically, you've got either supplements or you have dietary sources, and the American dietary sources are fairly lacking in coenzyme Q10. Selenium, he focuses on. He's got a review on selenium specifically. Glyconutrient supplements. He looks at lecithin. It's a phospholipid found in egg yolks and soy. Of those phospholipids, phosphatidylcholine is what he considers singularly the most important. Okay, omega-3, everybody knows about fish oil. The antioxidant properties of fish oil and the heart protective effective fish oil. He mentions vitamin C as a powder. Vitamin C, I've been telling people 3 grams a day. The RDA is 500 milligrams. The protective dose is 3 grams. And then during this pandemic, if you start getting viral symptoms, you go to 10 grams a day. Tocotrienol is the new and much improved form of vitamin E. So it's a naturally occurring member of the vitamin E family. It's derived from a plant. That's been overshadowed for many years by tocopherols, which basically everybody thinks is vitamin E. So there's tocotrienol, plant-based vitamin E as well. Magnesium, he's saying only 40% of people in the United States get enough dietary magnesium, and magnesium is involved in about 3/4 of the enzymes in the body. So they activate enzymes, and a lot of those enzymes factor into the production of ATP and energy by mitochondria. Okay, L-carnitine he mentions, alpha lipoic acid. So that's the ones that he thinks are the most important. Like I said, I would add to that glutathione. We did a whole class on glutathione, or actually I wrote a blog post and an article on glutathione and helping heal your lungs with glutathione. Okay, so let's go on specifically to CoQ10, and I think over the next few classes I'll kind of flesh this out for you so you can kind of get an idea of how to avoid premature aging, which is kind of my thing. So Coenzyme Q10 is known as ubiquinone. The reduced form and most bioavailable form is ubiquinol. You can get that again in Q Sciences. You can get it probably at any good health food or supplement store. What you want is bioavailable. So ubiquinol seems to be the most bioavailable and worth it to purchase supplement. So what it does is it's involved in the transfer of electrons on the inner mitochondrial membrane. That's one thing that it does. So it helps transfer electrons so that you can actually use oxygen. Okay. So CoQ10, about 2 grams is in your body at any one time. I said earlier, 0.5 gram a day to replace. Must be supplied either endogenously and synthesized in your body, or you have to take it in as a supplement or in your diet. Progressive decline in synthesis after the age of 21 and significant precipitous fall at about the age of 50. So then we're going to throw the statins in. So about 50 million people, maybe almost 1 in 3, certainly probably 1 in 4, are taking statin drugs. Most of those statin drug patients are over 50. Okay? Even though the FDA requires statin manufacturers to talk about reduction in coenzyme Q10 synthesis with statins, hardly anybody's on supplemental CoQ10. Okay, it's right there on the little that piece of paper that nobody reads. Okay, so if we have 25% of people over 50 on statins because their cholesterol is too high, then the potential problem with mitochondrial dysfunction and mutation as we age. So, the statins came on the market in the late 1990s. So now we've got a bunch of people that are over 50 that are on statins because supposedly their cholesterol is too high. Okay, so the heart, I've always told people CoQ10 is an antioxidant. It runs around and gobbles up free radicals. So it's like you have little electrical charges zapping you all the time that you can't really feel, but they are zapping you and causing damage. So CoQ10 helps alleviate and get rid of those. It's also important in the heart because of the high energy demands of the myocardium. Okay, so the heart is usually the first organ to feel coenzyme Q10 depletion, and you can get cardiomyopathy and congestive heart failure from CoQ10 depletion. Okay, and so congestive heart failure has been reported in statin users, and there is a cardiologist that he cites lots of from Tyler, Texas, lots of intervention with congestive heart failure and heart disease patients with coenzyme Q10, where hearts with congestive heart failure actually reverse that problem using just CoQ10 and reducing statins or getting rid of the statin. So a series of articles, he cites about 6 of them, and he looked at all these articles and CoQ10, etc., over the last 8 years. Okay, so so many of the side effects of statins are basically linked to that premature aging, along with that host of infirmities. Okay, so ubiquinol is found in membranes. That's a reduced form, and it helps maintain cell membrane integrity. Okay. So with statin damage, you can see liver damage, breakdown of liver cells. They're releasing enzymes into the bloodstream. That's a marker. So you can do liver enzyme studies and see if somebody's on a statin, if they've got some liver damage. I mean, anything you put in your mouth goes through your liver. Okay, and you get loss of cell wall integrity. Okay, it's also vital to the formation of elastin and collagen, your connective tissue, which is the most numerous kind of tissue in your whole body. So tendon and ligament damage and inflammation, rupture, frequently reported in elderly people, and may have something to do, especially with statins, with the myalgia. I've read articles that say that doesn't show any promise of help and prevention of rhabdomyolysis, myelitis would be the worst form of that. So I've seen CoQ10 studies that improve muscle pain with statin users, and I've seen ones that said it doesn't help at all. Okay. So we got to remember that mitochondria are always in contact with oxygen. Okay, and so the inevitable result of excessive free radical accumulation is an increase in the rate of those mitochondrial mutations and dysfunctions. Okay, so significant impact on aging. Okay, so mitochondria actually have a mutation rate that's 4 to 5 times greater than nuclear DNA. Okay, and so mitochondria have their own DNA from your mother, and so there can be DNA mutations already 3 or 4 to 5 times higher than nuclear DNA, and if you deplete glutathione and CoQ10, they become very sensitive to excess free radicals, and so you get altered function of your mitochondria and premature aging. Okay, so that's a little quick brief thing about what happens, and we got to remember statins work by blocking malabonate acid formation, which eventually becomes cholesterol, but it's also in the pathway for coenzyme Q10. So if you're going to block cholesterol synthesis, statins will also block coenzyme Q10 synthesis, which is already going down significantly by the time you're 50. So we will continue on this series on Monday. I've got a few more things that I think we'll look at a little bit more detail. And then once I get it all done, again, I will put up a recommended list. You can look at the Q Sciences supplements, because most of this is Q Sciences has done a good job looking at this research and formulating products that specifically target certain things. And they do have CoQ10 in quite a few of their products, if I remember. Holly can tell you more about that. So I'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. It's supposed to be actually fall weather next week, 60s and 70s. So it'll be nice after ice storms and snow and winter weather for the last week. So have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. See you. Bye.